Doctor pressed her long, thin fingers against the cold metal wall of the data storage room. Her heart was beating so fast it hurt. What she had found in these computer files would change everything. It would destroy the peace that had lasted for 50 years. The scientist had been working on the research ship Silent Dawn for 3 months. Her people were known across the galaxy for being peaceful. They never fought wars. They never hurt others. They only wanted to learn and help. That was why the Galactic Council had asked them to work with the Crucian Empire on this mission. The Crucians were different. They were tall and strong with thick gray skin and sharp teeth. They said they were protectors. They said they kept dangerous species away from peaceful ones like the. Everyone believed them. Everyone trusted them. But the files had found told a different story. She looked at the screen again, hoping she had made a mistake, but the numbers were clear. The reports were real. Over the past 20 years, the Crucians had not been protecting anyone. They had been killing. 43 different species, all marked as dangerous by Crucian reports, all moved to safe quarantine zones, all dead now. The files showed everything. How the Crucians would find a new species, how they would study them for weaknesses, how they would decide if the species was useful or not. If they were useful, they became slaves. If they were not useful, they died. The Crucians called it protection. The galaxy called it peace, but it was murder. His hands shook as she the files to a small data crystal. She had to tell someone. She had to warn the Galactic Council. If she could get this information to them, they would stop the Crucians. They would save whoever was left. She moved quickly through the ship's halls. The Silent Dawn was not large, but it felt huge now. Every shadow seemed to hide danger. Every sound made her jump. There were 12 Crucian soldiers on the ship, only 7 scientists. The communication room was empty. Good. Sat at the main console and started typing. She addressed the message to High Counselor and the leader of her people. If anyone would believe her, it would be him. Emergency message, she typed. Crucian Empire committing genocide, have proof, 43 species extinct. Request immediate council meeting. She attached all the files to the message, then she pressed send. Nothing happened. She pressed send again, still nothing. The screen showed an error message. Transmission blocked by security protocols. Fear shot through her like ice water. She tried a different channel. Blocked. She tried the emergency frequencies. Blocked. Every way to send messages off the ship had been cut off. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway behind her. Crucian boots on metal floors. Quickly deleted her message and pulled out the data crystal. She slipped it into a hidden pocket in her clothing just as the door opened. Commander walked in. He was the largest Crucian on the ship, with scars covering his arms and face. His small, dark eyes looked at her with suspicion. "Doctor," he said in his deep, rough voice, "you are not supposed to be here." "I was just checking our research data," she lied, "making sure everything was backed up properly." Moved closer. "Research data or something else?" "I don't understand." "Our security systems detected unauthorized access to classified files, files that have nothing to do with your research." His hand moved to the weapon on his belt. "What did you see?" Knew it was over, but she tried one more lie. "Nothing. I was just looking at mineral samples from the asteroid belt." Smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. "You are a poor liar, Doctor, just like all your weak species." He activated his communicator. "Security team to communications room. Now." Within seconds, 4 more Crucian soldiers filled the small room. They grabbed and dragged her into the hallway. Other soldiers were already collecting the other scientists from their rooms. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Doctor, the mission leader. "We are here under Galactic Council protection." Laughed. "The Galactic Council is not here, old one, and unfortunately there has been a terrible accident." The soldiers forced all 7 into the emergency escape pod bay. The pod was small, designed for only 3 people in an emergency. Forcing 7 inside would be painful, maybe deadly. "You cannot do this," said. "Our government will ask questions. People will look for us." "Will they?" asked. "Our records will show that your team volunteered for a dangerous mission to study unstable asteroids. Very sad when the asteroids exploded and destroyed your research vessel. No survivors, of course." Doctor stepped forward. "If you kill us, you gain nothing. We are scientists, not soldiers. We pose no threat to you." "You pose the greatest threat of all," replied. "You know the truth, and truth is the one thing the Crucian Empire cannot allow." The soldiers shoved thee into the tiny escape pod, could barely move. Her colleagues were pressed against her on all sides. Dr. A, the youngest of them, was already having trouble breathing. Appeared in the pod doorway. In his hand was a small device that sparked with electricity. "Emergency communications destroyed," he said, crushing the device. "Life support damaged. Estimated survival time, 3 days." "Please," whispered Doctor, "we have families." "Everyone has families," said. "That is why they must never learn what you have learned." The pod door slammed shut. A moment later, they felt the violent push as the pod was ejected from the ship. Through the small window, watched the silent dawn grow smaller and smaller until it was just another star in the endless black of space. The pod was cold and dark. The air already smelled stale. Around her, her colleagues moaned in pain from their injuries. Dr. A was unconscious. Dr. O was bleeding from a head wound, but still had the data crystal. Hidden in her clothes was proof of what the Crucians had done. If somehow, impossibly, they survived this, the truth would survive with them. Outside the pod, space was silent and empty. No ships, no planets, no hope. They were going to die out here, and the truth would die with them. The cold was the worst part. Pulled her thin research jacket around her body, but it did nothing to stop the ice that seemed to grow in her bones. The escape pod's heating system had failed completely on the second day. Now, 3 days later, every breath came out as a white cloud. She looked around at her colleagues in the dim emergency lighting. Doctor sat against the far wall, his eyes closed. His breathing was slow and shallow. Doctor had not woken up since the ejection. Her young face was pale and still. Dr. O was dead. The head wound from their violent ejection had been worse than they thought. He had died quietly during the night without complaint, just like the way. Even dying, he did not want to disturb others. Doctor was trying to fix the water recycler, but her hands shook too much from the cold. The machine had been damaged when the pod was ejected. Now they had maybe 6 more hours of water, maybe less. "Any progress?" asked softly. Shook her head. "The main coupling is cracked. Without proper tools, I cannot repair it." She sat back and rubbed her hands together. "Even if I could, we do not have enough power to run it." The power cells were draining fast, faster than they should have. Had made sure of that. Every system in the pod had been sabotaged in small ways, ways that would not be obvious until it was too late. Pulled out her data pad. The screen flickered and dimmed as she turned it on. The power was almost gone. She had been recording messages for the past 3 days. Messages for her family, for anyone who might find the pod someday. "Day 3, she whispered into the device. "Dr. O died this morning. Our water will run out before nightfall. The temperature is still dropping." She paused and looked at her dying colleagues. "I want my family to know that we found the truth. The Crucians are not protectors, they are killers. 43 species have died because of their lies. We tried to warn everyone. We tried to stop them." Her voice grew stronger. "If someone finds this recording, please take it to the Galactic Council. Tell them what really happened to us. Tell them that the Crucians murdered us because we learned their secret." The data pad screen went black. The battery was dead. Closed her eyes and leaned back against the cold metal wall. Around her, the pod creaked and groaned as space tried to crush it. The recycled air smelled of fear and death. Doctor opened his eyes and looked at her. "How much time do we have left?" he asked. "A few hours, maybe until tomorrow morning." He nodded slowly. "It is a good day to die then. We know the truth. That is more than most people get." "The truth dies with us," said bitterly. "No one will ever know what the Crucians have done. Perhaps, or perhaps someone will find us. The galaxy is vast, but it is not empty." Almost laughed. "Who would be out here? We are between star systems. Even if a ship passed nearby, they would never see our little pod." "Faith, young one. When everything else fails, we still have faith." Doctor suddenly sat up. "Wait," she said. "Do you hear that?" They all listened. At first, there was only the usual sounds of the dying pod, creaking metal, failing air pumps, the quiet breathing of the survivors. Then they heard it, a very faint humming sound, like electricity but different. "The sensors," said excitedly. "Something is activating the sensors." She crawled over to the small control panel. Most of the lights were dark, but one small screen still flickered with power. Strange symbols moved across it. Energy readings. "What is it?" asked. "Something big, very big, moving through this system." Tapped the screen with a shaking finger. "The energy signature is wrong. It does not match any known ship design." Felt a tiny spark of hope. Could it be a rescue ship? Maybe someone from the Galactic Council? "No," said slowly. "This is something else. Something I have never seen before." The energy readings grew stronger. Whatever was out there was getting closer. Suddenly, every light in the pod flickered. The emergency beacon, silent since their ejection, began to pulse. Red light filled the small space. The beacon whispered, "It is working." "Impossible," said. "Destroy the communications array. The beacon should be dead." But it was not dead. For 30 long seconds the beacon screamed their location into space. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. The red lights went out. The pod was dark and silent again. "Did anyone hear it?" Doctora asked weakly. She was awake now, her eyes bright with fever. "I do not know," admitted. "But something out there made it work, something powerful enough to activate damaged systems." They waited in the darkness. Hours passed. The cold grew worse. Their water ran out completely. Doctor stopped trying to fix the recycler and just sat quietly, conserving her energy. Drifted in and out of sleep. In her dreams, she saw the files again. All those dead species. All those murdered worlds. The Crucians had been so careful, so clever. They made everyone believe they were heroes while they committed genocide. She woke up when she felt the pod shaking. At first, she thought it was the life support failing completely, but then she realized the shaking was regular, rhythmic, like footsteps but much louder. "Something is docking with us," Doctor said in wonder. The pod shook again, harder this time. Then they heard sounds they had not expected, metal cutting through metal, power tools, voices speaking in a language none of them recognized. "Are those rescue teams?" I asked. Before anyone could answer, bright light flooded the pod. A section of the wall had been cut away. Figures in strange suits stepped through the opening. They were not Crucians. They were not any species that recognized. The figures were smaller than Crucians but larger than. They moved with quick, precise motions. Their suits were black and silver, more advanced than anything she had ever seen. Through their helmet visors, she could see pale faces and bright eyes. One of them knelt beside Doctor and began scanning her with a device that hummed softly. Another checked Dr. O's body and shook his head sadly. The third approached. "Can you understand me?" the figure asked in perfect galactic standard. Nodded, too shocked to speak. "My name is Commander Martinez. We received your distress signal. We are here to help." Who are you?" she whispered. The figure removed his helmet, revealing a face unlike any she had seen. The features were smooth and symmetrical. The eyes were blue like deep water. "We are human," he said simply, "and you are safe now." Had never seen anything like the human ship. As Commander Martinez helped her through the airlock, she looked up and gasped. The inside of the vessel was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows far above. Corridors stretched away in all directions, filled with moving lights and the sound of hundreds of feet. "How big is this ship?" she whispered. "The Thunderstrike is 3 kilometers long," Martinez replied casually, as if such size was normal. "She carries a crew of 8,000. 8,000. The entire space fleet had only 5,000 people in it. Human medical teams quickly surrounded the rescued. They moved with smooth efficiency, asking no questions, demanding no payment. They simply helped. A human woman with gentle hands examined carefully. "Hypothermia, dehydration, minor injuries from impact trauma," she reported to Martinez. "Nothing we cannot fix." "What about the others?" Martinez asked. "The elderly male will recover fully with rest. The young female has a serious infection, but our antibiotics will handle it. The one with the mechanical arm needs surgery, but it is routine." The doctor paused. "The body we recovered. There was nothing we could do." Martinez nodded grimly. "Understood, doctor, take good care of them." As they wheeled Dr. away on a floating stretcher, grabbed Martinez's arm. "Wait, I need to tell someone about what we found. The Crucians, they are not what they seem." "Easy," Martinez said. "You have been through hell. Rest first, then we will talk." "No, you do not understand. They will kill more people if someone does not stop them." Martinez studied her face for a long moment. "What kind of killing are we talking about?" Pulled out the data crystal she had hidden in her clothes. "Genocide. 43 species wiped out over 20 years. I have proof." The commander's expression changed. His eyes grew cold and hard. "Come with me. Captain needs to hear this." They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Humans in uniform moved past them with quick steps and serious faces. The ship hummed with power, could feel it in the walls, in the air itself. "How long have humans been traveling in space?" she asked. "About 200 years, Martinez replied. "Why?" "Your technology is very advanced, more advanced than anything the Galactic Council has." Martinez glanced at her. "We have been watching the galactic community for a while. We wanted to understand the political situation before we introduced ourselves." "You have been watching for how long?" 50 years. "Stopped walking. 50 years. You have known about us for 50 years and never made contact." "We learned early that first contact can go very badly if you rush it. Better to watch and learn." Martinez paused. "We saw how the Crucians treated species that were too weak to defend themselves. We decided to be very careful about revealing our capabilities." They entered a large room filled with control stations and viewing screens. At the center stood a woman in a different uniform, obviously the captain. She was shorter than Martinez but moved with the same confident precision. "Captain," Martinez said, "this is Doctor. She has information about the Crucians that you need to hear." Captain looked at the small, shivering with kind eyes. "Doctor, I am sorry for what happened to you. My chief engineer examined your escape pod. The damage was clearly intentional. You know they tried to murder us." "Oh, we know a lot about Crucian methods. Please, sit down and tell me what you discovered." Sat in a chair that adjusted itself automatically to her height. She handed over the data crystal. "Everything is in there, 43 species, all extinct. The Crucians marked them as dangerous and moved them to quarantine zones, but the quarantine zones were death camps." A human technician put the crystal into a computer. Data flowed across the screens around them. Captain read in silence for several minutes. Her face grew darker with each page. "This is worse than we suspected," she finally said. "We knew the Crucians were aggressive, but this is systematic extermination." "Can you help?" asked desperately. Can you warn the Galactic Council?" "We will do more than warn them," Captain said grimly. She activated a communication device. "Admiral, this is Captain. We have a priority 1 situation." A new voice spoke from the device, strong and commanding. "Report, Captain." "We have rescued survivors of a Crucian murder attempt. They carry proof of genocide against 43 species over 20 years. Request immediate orders." There was a long pause. Then, "Understood, stand by for new orders. This changes everything." The connection went dead. Captain looked at with serious eyes. "Doctor, how many people know about this evidence?" "Just us. The Crucians killed everyone else who might have seen it." "Good, that means we can control how this information gets out." Activated another control. "All hands prepare for quantum jump. We are returning to the fleet." Felt the ship shudder around her. Through the large windows, she saw stars begin to move. They were jumping to faster-than-light speed. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To meet the rest of our ships," Captain replied. 43 dead species require a strong response." "How many ships do you have?" Martinez and exchanged glances. "In this sector, 12. 12 ships. That is not very many against the entire Crucian fleet." Captain smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "Doctor, you do not understand human military doctrine yet. Our 12 ships are not like other ships you have seen." On the viewing screen, space suddenly filled with light as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Looked out and nearly fell from her chair. 11 more ships hung in space around them. Each one was as massive as the Thunderstrike. Together, they formed a wall of metal and weapons that stretched across the darkness. "My God," she whispered, "you have been building a fleet." "We have been building an army," Captain corrected. "The galaxy is a dangerous place. We decided to be ready for anything." A new voice spoke over the communication system. Admiral himself. "All ships, new mission parameters. We are escorting Doctor to the Galactic Council to present evidence of Crucian war crimes. Any attempt to stop us will be considered an act of war against humanity." "Will the Crucians try to stop us?" asked. Martinez checked a display screen. "Long-range sensors are detecting a Crucian battle fleet moving to intercept us. 27 ships." 27 against 12, said fearfully. "Can you win?" Captain stood up and walked to the viewing screen. In the distance, tiny lights were approaching fast. The Crucian fleet. "Doctor," she said quietly, "you are about to learn why humans have stayed hidden for so long. We did not want to frighten anyone until it was necessary." The human fleet began to move. The ships spread out in perfect formation, their weapons systems coming online. The Thunderstrike took point, leading the others forward. "Red alert," Captain announced. "All hands to battle stations. Today we show the galaxy who we really are." Through the viewing screen, watched the two fleets approach each other. The human ships moved like a pack of hunters, coordinated and deadly. Their weapons began to glow with contained energy. She realized that the rescue of her little escape pod had just started something much bigger. The age of human secrecy was over. The galaxy was about to meet its new protectors. And the Crucians were about to learn what happened to species that murdered the innocent. The Crucian fleet came in fast and arrogant. Watch from the bridge as 27 enemy ships approached in a straight line formation. She had seen Crucian military displays before. They always attacked the same way, direct assault with overwhelming force. It had worked for them for centuries. "Incoming transmission from the Crucian flagship," reported a human communications officer. "Put it on screen," Captain ordered. The viewing screen filled with the face of a Crucian admiral. His gray skin was marked with the ritual scars that showed his many victories. His eyes were cold and confident. "Human vessel," he said in heavily accented galactic standard, "you are harboring criminals wanted by the Crucian Empire. Surrender them immediately or face destruction." Captain stepped forward. I am Captain Sarah of the United Earth ship Thunderstrike. The beings you call criminals are refugees under our protection. We will not surrender them." The Crucian admiral laughed, showing his sharp teeth. "You have 12 ships, I have 27. This is simple mathematics, human." "Yes," Captain replied calmly, "simple mathematics." The transmission ended. The Crucian fleet began to spread out into their attack formation. Gripped her chair tightly. "Captain, maybe we should run. I do not want more people to die because of me." "Doctor," Captain said without turning around, "you are about to witness something that very few people have ever seen. A human fleet going to war." Admiral's voice came over the communication system. "All ships, weapons free, protect the civilians. Show no mercy to those who commit genocide." The human ships suddenly changed formation. Instead of staying together like the Crucians expected, they spread out in 3 dimensions. Some moved up, some down, some to the sides. Within seconds, they had surrounded the advancing Crucian fleet. "Impossible," whispered. "How can they move so fast?" "Human ships are designed for speed and coordination," Martinez explained. "Each ship is controlled by an artificial intelligence that can think faster than any biological brain. They coordinate their movements perfectly." The Crucians fired first. Bright energy beams lanced through space, striking at where the human ships had been moments before. But the humans were no longer there. Then the humans returned fire. Had never seen weapons like these. Instead of energy beams, the human ships launched physical projectiles. Chunks of metal that moved impossibly fast, guided by computers and accelerated to incredible speeds. The first Crucian ship simply came apart. One moment it was there, the next it was a cloud of expanding debris. The kinetic projectile had hit with the force of a small meteor. "Kinetic kill vehicles," Captain explained, seeing shocked expression. "We accelerate tungsten rods to a significant fraction of light speed. No shield can stop them." More human projectiles found their targets. Crucian ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, but the Crucians kept fighting. They turned to face their attackers, trying to bring their weapons to bear. That was when the humans revealed their second surprise. Beams of pure energy erupted from the human ships. Not the crude plasma weapons that most species used, but focused streams of exotic particles that sliced through Crucian hulls like they were made of paper. "What kind of weapons are those?" gasped. "Particle beam arrays," Martinez replied. "They disrupt matter at the molecular level." The battle was not lasting long. Already, half the Crucian fleet was destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships were trying to retreat, but the human ships moved to cut off their escape routes. "This is Admiral to Crucian forces," came the announcement over all frequencies. "Surrender immediately. Your empire is built on the bones of murdered innocents. Today, justice begins." But the Crucians did not surrender. They never surrendered. They regrouped and charged directly at the human flagship. Admiral's ship, the massive dreadnought Vengeance, met them head-on. Its weapons systems lit up space like a new star. Crucian ships were destroyed so fast that could barely count them. In less than 17 minutes, it was over. 27 Crucian ships had become floating wreckage. Not one human vessel was even damaged. The humans had fought with a coordination and efficiency that seemed impossible. Hal whispered, "How did you win so easily?" Captain sat down in her command chair. "Doctor, humans have been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. We know war in ways that peaceful species cannot imagine. When we finally went to space, we brought that knowledge with us. But the technology. We had a lot of time to prepare while we watched the galaxy. We saw what weapons other species used. We designed better ones." Admiral's face appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. "Captain, take us to the Galactic Council. It is time the galaxy learned the truth about the Crucian Empire." The human fleet formed up again and jumped to faster-than-light speed. When they emerged, they were in orbit around Galactic Prime, the capital world of the Council. Looked down at the planet through the viewing window. It was beautiful, with blue oceans and green continents. Billions of people from hundreds of species lived there in peace. "They have no idea what is coming," she said. "No," Captain agreed, "but they need to know." On the planet below, alarms were ringing. The sudden appearance of 12 massive warships had caused panic. No one recognized the ship designs. No one knew who these newcomers were. "Incoming transmission from Galactic Defense," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Captain ordered. An admiral appeared on screen. Recognized him as Fleet Commander, one of the highest-ranking officers in the galactic military. "Unknown vessels," said nervously. "You have entered restricted space without permission. Identify yourselves immediately." "This is Admiral of the United Earth Fleet. We request immediate audience with the full Galactic Council. We have evidence of war crimes that require immediate action." "Earth, I am not familiar with that world." "You will be," Admiral replied. "We represent humanity, Admiral, and we are here to present evidence that the Crucian Empire has committed genocide against 43 species." His face went pale. That is a very serious accusation." "Yes, it is. We have survivors and complete documentation. We also just destroyed a Crucian battle fleet that tried to stop us from reaching you." "You destroyed a Crucian fleet? Impossible. Their ships are the most powerful in the galaxy." Admiral's expression was grim. "Not anymore. Will the Council see us?" Was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Yes, emergency session in 1 hour, but Admiral, if these accusations are false." "They are not false," Admiral interrupted. "And Admiral, you might want to recall all Galactic Defense Forces. When this information becomes public, there will be chaos. The Crucians have allies who will not want the truth revealed." The transmission ended. Around them, the human fleet took defensive positions around the planet. Looked at the data crystal in her hands. Such a small thing to cause such huge changes. "Are you ready, Doctor?" Captain asked. "When you walk into that council chamber, you will change the galaxy forever." Thought about Dr. O, dead in the cold of space. She thought about 43 dead species. She thought about all the peaceful worlds that lived in fear of the Crucians without knowing why. "Yes," she said firmly, "I am ready." The shuttle bay doors opened. Human ships descended toward the planet below, carrying proof that would destroy the most powerful empire in the galaxy. And a small scientist would be the one to present it. The age of Crucian dominance was about to end. The Grand Council chamber had never been so quiet. Stood at the central podium, surrounded by representatives from 300 worlds. Above her, the great dome showed the stars of the galaxy. Around her, beings from dozens of species listened in stunned silence as she finished presenting the evidence. 43 species, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. Billions of lives, all murdered by those who claimed to protect them. She placed the data crystal on the podium reader. Above them all, holographic displays showed the evidence. Colony ships that never reached their destinations. Quarantine zones that became mass graves. Crucian reports that lied about everything. High Counselor and leader of the Galactic Council looked down from his elevated seat with ancient eyes. "This is unprecedented," he said slowly. "If these accusations are true." "They are true," Admiral said from where he stood with the human delegation. "We have every piece of data. The Crucian Empire has been systematically committing genocide for 20 years. A commotion erupted from the Crucian section. Ambassador Al, a massive figure even by Crucian standards, stood up angrily. "Lies," he roared. "These humans are unknown to us. Who are they to make such claims?" "We are the species that rescued the survivors," Admiral replied calmly. "The survivors your military tried to murder." "Ridiculous. The research team died in an accident." Captain activated a portable display device. "This is footage from our rescue operation," she announced. Images filled the air showing the sabotaged escape pod, the damaged life support systems, the evidence of deliberate destruction. "Murder," she said simply. "Attempted murder of witnesses who discovered your crimes." The chamber erupted in voices. Representatives shouted questions in dozens of languages. Some demanded justice. Others called for investigation. A few, clearly Crucian allies, claimed the evidence was fake. Counselor and called for order. "Silence, this is too serious for chaos." He looked down at Admiral. "Human representative, your species is unknown to this council. How do we know we can trust your evidence?" Admiral stepped forward. "Because we have been watching you for 50 years, Counselor. We have seen how this galaxy works. We have seen how the strong prey upon the weak. We decided long ago that if we ever revealed ourselves, it would be to protect those who cannot protect themselves." 50 years, and looked shocked. "You have had faster-than-light travel for 50 years and never made contact." "We made contact when it was necessary, when we found proof of genocide." Ambassador Al pointed one clawed finger at the humans. "Even if this evidence is real, what gives you the right to interfere? You are not members of this council." Admiral's expression grew cold. "The right of any civilized being to stop mass murder, the right that you have ignored for 20 years. Another Crucian representative stood up. "Where is your fleet now, human? We count 12 ships. The Crucian Empire has thousands." "Had thousands," Admiral corrected. "Your battle fleet at Helix Nebula no longer exists. 27 ships, gone in 17 minutes. The chamber fell silent again. The destruction of a Crucian battle fleet was impossible. Everyone knew that Crucian military power was unmatched. "Impossible," whispered Al. Captain activated another display. Combat footage filled the air above them. The brief, violent battle played out for all to see. Crucian ships torn apart by human weapons. The complete destruction of a fleet that had terrorized the galaxy for generations. "Possible," said quietly, "and necessary." Counselor and stared at the footage. "Your weapons, they are far beyond anything we have seen." "Yes," Admiral replied, "they are." A new voice spoke from the upper galleries. Representative and of the Helix Confederation, one of the Crucian Empire's strongest allies. "Even if the Crucians have committed these crimes, what do you propose to do about it? Start a war that will consume the galaxy?" Admiral looked up at him. "The war is already over. The Crucian military no longer exists as an effective force. 3 days ago, the 5th Human Fleet eliminated their main battle stations. The 7th Fleet is currently liberating the remaining quarantine camps. The war lasted exactly 6 days. The chamber erupted again. "Impossible. No one could defeat the Crucian Empire in 6 days." But the evidence was there on the displays. Human ships at Crucian worlds. Crucian defense fleets destroyed or surrendering. Quarantine camps being opened to reveal the horrors inside. Watched it all with amazement. In less than a week, the humans had dismantled an empire that had dominated the galaxy for centuries. "How many humans are there?" asked Counselor quietly. Admiral considered the question. 8 billion on Earth, another 12 billion in our colonies. We have 73 inhabited worlds." 73 worlds, and repeated slowly. 73 worlds we never knew existed. "We are very good at staying hidden when we want to," Admiral said, "but the time for hiding is over." Representative and tried one last protest. "You cannot simply destroy the legal government of dozens of worlds. There are procedures, laws." "There are also higher laws," Admiral replied. "Laws that say genocide is wrong. Laws that say the strong should protect the weak, not prey upon them." "And who appointed you as enforcers of these laws?" Admiral's expression grew hard. We appointed ourselves, just as we appointed ourselves to rescue Doctor and her colleagues when your allies left them to die in space. Counselor and raised his staff for attention. This council will now vote on Resolution 2847, recognition of evidence against the Crucian Empire and appropriate sanctions. The vote was swift. 300 representatives, minus the Crucians and their closest allies who had already fled the chamber. The result was unanimous. By unanimous vote, this council finds the Crucian Empire guilty of genocide and crimes against sapient life. All trade and diplomatic relations are hereby severed. All Crucian officials are to be arrested and tried for war crimes. Ambassador Al stood up one last time. You will regret this. The Crucian Empire will not forget this betrayal. The Crucian Empire is finished, Admiral said quietly. Your member worlds are already in revolt. Your military is destroyed. Your leaders are in hiding. You have nothing left but the fear you have spread for so long. And what will you humans do now? And asked. Will you become the new Crucian Empire? Will you rule through fear and force? Admiral shook his head. No, Counselor. We will do what we have always done. We will protect those who need protection. Any species that requests our aid will receive it. Any government that preys upon the innocent will face us. You would make yourselves the police of the galaxy. We would make ourselves the friends of the innocent. There is a difference. 3 months later, stood on the observation deck of the new human embassy station in orbit around Galactic Prime. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see human patrol ships moving through space. The galaxy had changed. The Crucian Empire had collapsed within weeks as member species revolted, knowing that human protection was available to anyone who asked for it. Dozens of species that had lived in fear for generations were free. Some worlds had joined the new Terran Protective Alliance willingly. Others maintained their independence but welcomed human patrol fleets in their space. A few tried to become the new Crucians, preying on their neighbors. Those governments fell quickly when human ships arrived to protect their victims. Doctor joined her at the window. He had recovered completely and now served as liaison between the humans and the Galactic Council. Any regrets? He asked her. Thought about Dr. O, who had died in the cold escape pod. She thought about the 43 species that the Crucians had murdered. She thought about all the worlds that were free now because one small data crystal had found its way to the right people. None, she said firmly. Outside the window, a human patrol ship thundered past on its way to answer a distress call from a remote system. Its engines lit up the darkness like a promise. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was filled with the thunder of human ships, carrying hope to those who had given up and justice to those who thought themselves above the law. And in the vast spaces between the stars, no one would ever again be abandoned to die in the silence.